and welcome to Carrie's Kitchen. It's back to school season, and that made me think about some great nutritious breakfasts that you could eat pretty much in a hurry. And one classic recipe that I like to make is homemade granola. Homemade granola is really easy. You can make it with things that you probably already have in your cupboard, maybe a couple of extra additions, and you can really just tailor the recipe to really fit your taste and your family's needs. Are you ready to cook? Alright, first thing we're going to do is mix our dry ingredients together. So let's start with the oats. And these are just standard old-fashioned oats. Now granola is not like baking. I can measure kind of carelessly here and it'll be okay. And I'm going to make 4 cups. Next, we're going to use our wheat germ. And this is going to help it all stick together and give it some nice texture and some nice nutty flavor and a lot more nutrition too. So we're going to use about a cup of that. I'm going to use almonds today, 2/3 of a cup. Alright, this is a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and you're going to want to really break it up because if you get clumps of it, you're just going to hit really super sweet parts. Alright, now we're going to add flax and flaxseed. But the thing is, your body can't really use the flax when it's a whole product. So we're going to grind it up, and I'm going to use my mini food processor for this. There we go. Alright, now I'm just going to give this a stir before I add the wet ingredients. Okay, now we're going to make up our liquids. The foundation is going to be maple syrup. Now you could also probably use agave syrup, which is a very similar thickness, but I prefer that maple flavor. I'm going to use a 1/2 cup. Great. Then you need an oil. And like I said, you don't have to be exact with granola, so I'm just going to go on top of that. We're going to add a little bit of almond extract. And then just 2 tablespoons of water. Just stir that up. Okay. Now I'm going to be ready to stir it at the same time. Alright, and then you just give it a really good stir. And this is where the wheat germ and the ground flax is going to help form some clumps. But I don't really think the clumps are that important in granola. I've heard that if you want really good clumps, you should add extra water once it's in the pan and you kind of massage it and form clumps and then bake it that way. But I think you need to stir it once you're baking it to make sure it dries out consistently. So this probably won't form very many chunks. Alright, it looks pretty consistent. Now, I'm going to be using a 13x9 pan. This one is really non-stick, but if you have one that's not very non-stick, you're going to want to put some oil spray on there. Okay, now I'm going to spread it out. I don't want to compact it. Just want it to be nice and loose in there. And now I'm going to add the salt. Now you could have added the salt with the dry ingredients, but again, I always worry about there being salty patches. And I'm just going to sprinkle some on. If you're measuring it out, you want about a teaspoon. So I'm just going to put it on here, and then while we bake it, we stir it in between at different stages. And that'll make sure it all gets mixed in. Great, now we're ready to bake it. Great. Now we're going to bake it at 300 degrees, and that way it's going to be a slow heat, and really what we want to do is drive out the moisture. That'll make the syrupy part more sticky, and then it'll be ready to go. Okay, it's been a half an hour, and it's time to stir it. Now, this is good. It's getting a little bit crispy on top, but you need the part underneath to dry out as well. So I'm just doing little bits, trying to overturn it. All right, we're going to check that in another 20 minutes. Okay, it's been about 25 minutes. I'm going to test it one more time. Good, it's nice and light. You can tell that the liquids have evaporated. We're ready to pull it out. Okay, now our final step is going to be to add our dried fruit. And I think that this recipe goes great with dried cherries, or dried blueberries, or craisins, which cranberry raisins, and that's what I'm going to be using today. But I'm actually going to be using a variety that has blueberry juice added to it, so you're going to get a little bit of that blueberry flavor and the cranberry flavor. You want to use about 2/3 of a cup, or to your taste. If you like sweet, you can do more. If not, cut back. You can also save this step and just add it when you actually eat it. But I kind of like to get a little bit of crunchies on them. See how it looks once we stir it up and see what the ratio looks like. Now the reason we didn't add these earlier is that they're already dried, and if they were in the oven for an hour, they're going to turn out really dried. And there you have it, homemade granola with almonds and cranberries.